Hi everybody, it's Danielle from WUSA Holistic Health Coaching. Back again to have another soulful conversation with you to discuss a little bit further about the topic we had last night about holding negative feelings or grudges and what that does to our health. I was with some ladies earlier today and they brought up a super interesting point, and I hadn't really ever thought about it, but they said sometimes it's hard to know what the difference is between holding a grudge and setting a boundary. So they actually requested that I talk about that and kind of expound more on the differences. So let me just quickly define what I mean by a boundary. It's basically just setting a limit. So let's just say you got a baby and you want to keep the baby safe, so you put him in a playpen. That playpen serves at that point as that baby's boundaries, because they cannot leave the limits that are set by the playpen. They cannot get into any danger because you've put that limit of space around them, a protective barrier around them. Well, if we're talking about a boundary for ourselves and how to protect ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically, whatever could potentially put us in harm's way, we could set up all kinds of boundaries. And so often the problem is when we don't set up boundaries in relationships. So just something super simple would be, say you went out on a date. A boundary might be that there will be no physical contact on a first date. No way. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me. So we're not going to be crossing that boundary with me, because that's how I'm going to keep myself safe mentally, emotionally, and maybe even physically in this situation. But a grudge, that's a bad feeling. That's a feeling that we hold inside of ourselves about somebody. So a grudge could be resentment, anger, bitterness, rage. It could even get to the point where you want revenge. You want to do something to that person because they did something to you. So that's not the same thing as a boundary. The boundary would be setting a limit. Now, a boundary could be because of a grudge formerly held, or to keep from having to end up in a grudge situation. So for example, maybe in the past, you were holding grudges because people were upsetting you, or maybe not respecting you the way that you wanted to be, but maybe your boundary wasn't clear. So then moving forward, like with myself, I never had any boundaries. People could say anything, do anything, act any old kind of way, and I would just forgive them. I wouldn't hold grudges. You know, that is so not the way to live. But I had to learn very late, and after a whole lot of trauma and drama, that boundaries can protect you from even being in a situation where you would have to hold a grudge or feel like you wanted to hold a grudge against somebody. So if you are in a situation where, let's say, someone is super disrespectful or super rude, here's something that you could do that would help with that. First of all, I learned this very recently. If somebody is rude to you and saying something nasty, something that you can do like right now is just repeat it back. Repeat the statement back to the person who made the rude, dig, or slight or insult. Here's the reason. It blocks that feel-good hormone that they're looking for, that they got the last time they did it and no one said anything. They got a little hit of that nice chemical release of dopamine when they did a dig and think they got away with it. When you repeat that back and you say, did you really just say da 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 da? That blocks that feel-good hormone release from happening. They don't get the reward that they're looking for. So that's one thing. And that is a nice way to set a boundary of letting people know, I'm not tolerating that. So instead of me saying nothing, I'm going to let you know that is my boundary. This is the limit for you. You're not going to be saying things like that to me ever again. And if you do, this is how I'm going to handle it. And you're going to be looking dumb, and you're not going to get the reward of the chemical release that you wanted from the last time you did it and got away with it. So that's a boundary. But does that mean that a grudge is automatic? No, it doesn't. Let them is where this theory, now that's when we bring that theory back in. And as a reminder, the let them theory is when we don't worry about what the other person is going to say in return, how they're going to react, how they're going to feel, if they're going to go talk about us to other people, if they're going to freak out, if they're going to have a fit. We're not getting involved with all of that because that is their stuff. It's not our stuff. So we're going to let them react however they're going to react, emote however they're going to emote, do whatever they're going to do. But our boundary says, don't move past this line, because we're living holistically. That means my whole being, whole person has to be protected. I have to protect myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And if you cross that line, that means that I didn't make my boundary clear and now you're able to come hurt me. So if we're not even letting you get close enough to do the hurt, then there's no need for the grudge. So I can see where there would be a little bit of confusion, but remember, the grudge is the holding of the resentment, the bitterness, the anger, the rage, the whatever. That's that action. The boundary is setting a limit so that people know, no, like we said in the dating situation, you're not going to be holding my hand. I don't even know you. Or something else. Or with the baby, you're not getting out of this pin because I don't want you getting out the door and potentially running in front of a car in the street. The baby has a boundary, also known as the playpen, to keep them safe. As adults, we have to set our own boundaries. We have to make clear limits and lines in the sand that say, this is what I tolerate, this is what I do not tolerate. And when we do that, people are so much more respectful because people actually do well with limitations. Kids do well with limitations. In the workplace, we do well with limitations. You come to work, you know, if I come to work late 3 times, I don't even know because I don't work for people, but I'm just saying, I know with a lot of employer situations, you come to work 3 times, you're getting written up, you might even lose your job. So that's the boundary that the company has set to limit bad behavior in that situation. In a household, it may be a curfew. The boundary is you don't come in this house past 10 p.m. or else you lose your phone. That would be a boundary. The kid respects the parent more because they already know what that limit is set, and then that's just it. No need for grudges. Boundary set, it's clear, the limitation is there. Now we just have to be the kind of people that respect the boundary. Now, if there's people that are so toxic, they refuse to live within the boundaries that you set in this friendship or in this dating situation, parent-child situation, whatever it is, if there's people that are so toxic, they refuse to respect your boundaries and they just kind of keep pushing it, that's a situation where we just remove ourselves from the relationship, but we still don't have to hold a grudge, which is that poison that we're drinking, waiting for the other person to die. We can just choose to release it, let it go, have some grace, move on, look at people with compassion and say, hey, obviously there's something wrong with them. Maybe they were traumatized. Maybe they have no emotional intelligence. Maybe they were abused all their life and they have absolutely no idea how to be in a healthy relationship. So if they've never been in one, then how can they be in one with you? You teach people how to treat you. So if we keep allowing them to be close to us and they keep treating us like garbage, whose fault is that? At that point, we got to look at ourselves and go, why have I not set up a boundary yet that says you're not getting past this line? Because I'm holistically taking care of myself mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I'm going to use the let them theory, which means that however you feel about that, that's yours, that's not mine, and I'm not taking it on because now I'm making myself sick yet again. And that is not fair. We're not doing that. So you set the boundary. The person either respects it or they don't. You're not going to take it on. Whatever their decision is, you're just going to make the decision and stick with it. But then if somebody does go too far and they do something awful to you, it doesn't hurt the other person when you hold a grudge or the bad feelings of resentment, bitterness, rage, wanting to get revenge and all that stuff. It only hurts the person holding the poison in their body. They're the ones that are going to get sick, not the ones that are handing out the bad behavior. I hope that makes sense. The difference between a grudge and boundaries. Boundaries save, grudges destroy. And that is probably the easiest way to see the difference. One is healthy and one is toxic. One is good for us, one is bad for us. That's the easiest way to keep it straight. We have a choice about grudges. We actually have a choice about boundaries. We don't have to hold a grudge just because someone made us mad. We can deal with that and choose to let it go. But one way to avoid having to even worry about it is to set up clear boundaries from the get-go. And then you don't even have to be in so many different situations where holding a grudge would even come up. I hope that helps, because we're all here for the same reason. We want to woosah. We want that peace so that we can have a calm nervous system and so that we can have healthy, bouncy energy. We can reach homeostasis. We can feel good mentally, physically, emotionally. I hope that makes sense. If you still have more questions, feel free to leave it in the comments. I want to hear from you anyway. If you're here, if you heard it, if you like it, you don't, whatever, please share, subscribe, tell people about the channel, help me grow the community, because I do think this information is super important and super helpful. And I wish I would have known about it so long ago, but I'm glad at least I know it now. And now that I know better, I can do better, and hopefully it will help you to do better as well. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your evening. I will see you tomorrow. Don't forget to woosah.